When a prominent American newspaper recently published a headline casually referring to Pakistani Kashmir, the error was swiftly struck through by an unlikely editor. The response came directly from the Indian government. For the first time, the Ministry of External Affairs publicly rebuked a Western legacy media outlet for a factually inaccurate headline on an American social media platform. The Indian government clarified the specific error. In their view, there is no legal or geographical entity called Pakistani Kashmir. The territory is exclusively Pakistan-Occupied Kashmir, or POK. This is an exercise in informational sovereignty. The specific terminology a major newspaper chooses to print can either legitimize a country's borders on the global stage or systematically erase them. For decades, Western media outlets dictated the narrative around the subcontinent without significant opposition. Today, India is actively policing its sovereign boundaries in the global press. This public correction signals a change in posture. It is a direct challenge to a narrative structure that has long prioritized Western institutional voices over local geopolitical realities. Looking back 30 years ago, the institutional bias is even more apparent. Outlets like The Washington Post routinely use the term Indian-occupied Kashmir in their reporting. The terminology has since shifted toward Indian-administered Kashmir, but the double standard persists. When armed militants attack tourists in these regions, the same publications often soften the impact by labeling the perpetrators as mere gunmen. Contrast this scrutiny of India with the caution American media and politicians navigate China's territorial claims. American leaders frequently offer to mediate the Kashmir situation, yet they rarely utter a single provocative word about Taiwan's sovereignty while standing in Beijing. Western editorial standards appear to be based on a specific calculus. They respect the geographic sensitivities of the nations they fear offending. The term Pakistani Kashmir obscures the physical reality on the ground. This is a militarized, occupied zone. Currently, civilian protests are erupting across regions like Rawalakot, where residents are demonstrating against a total lack of basic rights. The Pakistani military response has been severe. Current reports and local documentation indicate dozens of civilian casualties as the army attempts to crush the unrest. The global media response is largely silence. If a fraction of this state violence occurred on the Indian side of the border, it would likely dominate international front pages. By refusing to accurately label the region as occupied, Western media provides narrative cover for state-sponsored violence against civilians. The Ministry of External Affairs officially launching a fact-checking account is the first tactical step in holding these foreign institutions accountable. Legacy media companies are in a vulnerable position. To survive the collapse of print, they need massive new pools of digital subscribers. This chart shows the reality of media survival. While US and UK subscriber growth flatlines, the Indian market is growing rapidly. That growth is leverage. If India boycotts hostile editorial boards, Western revenue projections suffer an immediate blow. The Indian consumer base presents a clear ultimatum. If Western publications want to monetize Indian readers, they must align their internal style guides with India's sovereign reality. Publications that refuse to adapt can be restricted to smaller, less lucrative markets that offer far less growth potential. The dynamic between Western publishers and the Indian public has changed. By leveraging the scale of its digital market, India is now setting the terms for how international media must engage with its borders.
If you value clarity over chaos, explore more on Clear Lens X.